So today the 8th patch with balancing and scaling changes has finally been announced. So I just wanted to make this super quick video going over an overview of the important changes, also going over what this might mean for builds. First off, we have a new spell mastery mechanic, which I'm glad they are adding, as my spell power characters all had a bunch of points sitting around not being able to be used, since the weapon mastery NPC did nothing for them. Next off, we have some buffs similar to class titles, which are weapon damage for gold, spell damage for wood, reduced damage taken for stone, and health gain for iron. Now we have the big meat of the patch, which is that strength now gives armor penetration, which is huge, as the biggest hurdle in climbing New Game Plus was that enemies' armor was previously increasing by 33% every level, but there was only a flat amount of armor penetration we could get. Combined with Dex and Intelligence crit damage now changing to a decaying growth beyond 400 of the stat, this could mean that beyond having enough stat for your gear, even for in/dex classes, you might want to dump into strength for more armor penetration beyond your gear requirement, but this will need more testing with builds to see at what point you might want to switch over. For strength classes, you might finally be able to go full strength, as you'll now be getting both spell power and armor penetration, but this will also require more testing to see whether you still might want some points into in/dex for their respective crit damage. On top of that, armor penetration enchants have also been changed to be 10% now instead of the previous flat 20 or 25 or whatever it was, which could mean swapping over to the armor penetration enchants. While this is definitely better than it was before, with the fact that armor penetration no longer pushes enemy armor below 0, it will most likely mean it might not necessarily be better than damage percent or crit rate, depending on if the enemy's armor was already being brought to 0, but again, this will require further testing. They also did change the armor and resistance penalty from curses, but honestly I never really got too many curse stacks, so not too sure yet how this will affect survivability, as my armor did seem to go lower into the negatives after these changes, as strength no longer gives any passively, but I'll definitely need to do quite a few runs to see if I notice anything. Some more good news is that they buffed trinkets and debuffs such as bleed to now scale with spell power, which I found great, as many times I found trinkets that were just garbage and did absolutely nothing except clutter my screen with effects. I'm looking at you, Elemental Prism. Looks like they also added some new enemies for New Game Plus, with ranger enemies having their attacks scaled upwards as well, which honestly scares me as the range have always been the most dangerous for me in my runs, but at least they lowered the damage for the barracks crossbowmen, as those guys always hit me for about 90% of my HP. In terms of weapon scaling, they made it so weapons do additional damage based on character attributes and increased off of item tier, which looks to cap out at 15% for tier 4 gear, but there could be some higher, I'm just not too sure yet. They also buffed whip masteries to 5% per point instead of 3% per point. The changes are definitely noticeable, as my Blaze Rogue, while still having the same exact level and gear in the video, went from doing 6.5k damage per auto attack to 7.9k. This is on the dummy, but it's still quite a big difference. Now for the big class changes, starting off with the Wizard, I think the biggest change here is that for Transmutation, Enhanced Physique no longer gives Intelligence, which at first glance might seem like a huge nerf, but with Strength giving armor penetration, I actually think they might come out slightly stronger than before, or at least around the same level, especially on higher New Game Plus levels, due to armor penetration having a lot of value. But again, I could be wrong on this, and that's just my initial thoughts. The other two wizard changes are pretty minor, but the mana reduction one could be pretty annoying when first starting out. I'm not too sure about the ranger changes yet, and at first glance they seem to be pretty decent, but I'll find out more as I work on my ranger guide video. Paladin Inner Flame scaling per character level, and I think could make Radiance dish out a lot more damage, so I'm excited to try that out on a strength build soon. Longbringer changes I'm not too sold on, but I'll be testing out that one as well. Finally, Sorcerer just got even more damage with Ice Block, with the caveat that you have to block the damage, so it might be worth rocking a shield in offhand if that turns out to proc it as well. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. These changes are actually pretty big, and I'm pretty excited to be able to try them and show them to you guys soon. Let me know what you guys think of the changes and if you thought of any cool builds while reading them. Once again, thank you all for watching and hope you have a good rest of your day.